In the Victorian era, the large presence of religion in people's daily lives created many customs and superstitions about the dead. When someone died, it was believed that they could easily be buried alive or have something terrible happen while possibly just in a coma. So because of this, people followed many rituals to secure the safety of the deceased's family and the dead. This occurred in England during the Victorian era, 1837 to 1901, and involved families greatly and the communities. Most of these rituals took place to remember the dead. Among being intimidated about many things, Victorians were especially uneasy when it came to the dead. They went through great measures to put on elaborate funerals to memorialize their loved ones. These funerals lasted days to ensure their death. Because it was common for people to rise from their deep sleep, this was called the wake period. The whole community took part in the mourning. During Queen Victoria's reign, the country was peaceful, prosperous, and very self-confident. They were in transition from rationalism to romanticism. During this time, the population rose from 16.8 million to 30.5 million between 1851 and 1901. These rituals originated in England after the death of Queen Victoria's husband, King Albert. It began when she commanded her court to dress in part of the mourning for the first 3 years post-mortem. Because of this queen's extreme actions, the Victorians elected to mimic her mourning process. Since everybody chose to follow the queen's ethics, this made her even more of an importance to the English way of life. People today still believe in some of the superstitions and live by them day to day. Extreme mourning, mausoleums, memory cards, and newspaper obituaries are Victorian practices still visited today. After Queen Victoria's death, most of these customs and superstitions were lost as they went into the Edwardian era.
Fun facts. The term "Saved by the Bell" originated because sometimes a string would be tied around the wrist of the corpse leading up to the gravestone, attaching it to a bell. If they were alive, they would ring the bell to let others know they weren't dead. The phrase "graveyard shift" came about from when friends and relatives would take turns sitting by the grave, waiting to hear if the bell would ring. For the death of a child, a white coffin, white gloves, and ostrich plumes were standard. Majority of the graves were organized in a manner that their bodies lay with their head to the west and their feet to the east, because Christians believed that judgment would come from the east. A widow was to wear a bonnet of heavy crepe and a veil to cover the face for the first 3 months. At the end of 3 months, the veil was to be worn from the back of the bonnet for another 9 months. Altogether, the restrictive mourning dress, known as the widow's weeds, was to be worn for a minimum of 2 years, although many widows chose to shun color forever. Mourning attire for women included jewelry, hair accessories, stationery, purses, fans, and many other objects. It was intended to neutralize all interacts of the widow with society, just as the Queen had done. Superstitions. If you see yourself in a dream, your death will follow. Stop the clock in a death room or you will have bad luck. 2 deaths in a family, a 3rd one will sure follow. Never wear anything new to a funeral, especially shoes. If you smell roses when none are around, someone is going to die. A diamond-shaped fold in a clean linen portends death. A dog howling at night when someone in the house is sick is a bad omen, but it can be reversed by reaching over the bed and turning over a shoe. If the deceased has lived a good life, flowers would bloom on his grave, but if he has been evil, only weeds would grow. If several deaths occur in the same family, tie a black ribbon to everything left alive that enters the house, even dogs and chickens. This will protect against the deaths spreading further. You should always cover your mouth while yawning, so your spirit doesn't leave you and the devil never enters your body. The biggest disgrace in a community during the Victorian era is not giving the deceased a proper burial. It was highly frowned upon. A decent burial for family members was characteristic of all social Victorian classes, even if that meant debt for the surviving family members.